Yeah, puta pendeja.
Jesus almighty. Welcome back, mere mortals. This is another edition of the Musings. Karen has just pretty much pushed away all of our Spanish listeners out of the way.
Sorry,
Does not
people.
once.
Sorry,
Gee,
people.
they are just mortified. But welcome back to another edition of the Musings. I'm Juan.
I'm Karen.
And we are the mere mortals. Now, today we've got a bit of musings, so of course we're going to look back at learnings, things that we found interesting that we want to bounce off each other and whatnot. I've got a couple of things around how to be broader when things come your way, when they land on your plate, as well as explanations and simplification.
Okay. Mine is all about insults and swearing.
Easy, simple. All right, I'll get started with mine. So I've got two. One being, if you can't explain something simply, you don't know it well enough. So this is going a little bit beyond the conversations that John Peterson has around precision. And funnily enough, actually a little story, when I read 12 Rules for Life from Jordan Peterson, not very long afterwards, I actually took one of the teams at work through a little session where we were essentially resetting. New people were there. I wanted to get them across, how we treated each other, etc. And I actually created, based off the 12 Rules of Life, my own little subset to share with the team, being like, hey, this is how we're going to treat each other. But one of them was, being precise in your words. And I've kind of honed it in on them and kind of called them out a few times when you'll say like, these people didn't do something, or like, no, we're waiting on them. And I'd be like, who's them? Who are you talking about? Like, that is not precise enough. We're going to get in trouble. We're not going to be able to progress as fast forward as we can if you're not being precise. But it also clued me into that to be precise, you have to explain things well and simply, not in some rambling, absolute random tangents going all over the place. So I think if you can't, it goes hand with being precise, but it's a little bit deeper, because if you can't explain something simply enough, you don't know it well enough. It's like as simple as that. If you can't explain it in a simple manner that you could explain it to, say, someone brand new that you just come across and you're trying to explain it, like if they have to go and understand something further, you don't know it well enough.
I'm not so sure about that, just because I think there's people who can know stuff but just not be good at communicating. And I think those are two different skills. So
That's an interesting point.
So I don't think, I'm sure there's a Bitcoin wizard out there who's super autistic and just can't explain all the knowledge that he's got in his mind, put it in the correct order, put it in, and vice versa. I'd say there's people who are very good at explaining things and they probably don't know anything that deeply.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because they can communicate in such an effective manner, they're able to, almost get away with not knowing it super deeply.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, good. Okay. I like this little bounce. That clarifies it more in my mind then, that it's knowing the content and then being precise with the words is two very different things.
Yeah.
So it's knowing your stuff and knowing it well enough to be able to communicate it, but then the ability of being precise with the way that you communicate it. So those two that add up to being able to provide it properly.
Yeah, of course, obviously, having both is best, but which would you take if you could only have one of them? That's an interesting question.
I think I'd take the precision. The ability to communicate it.
Yeah.
Because without that, it's almost useless in a way, because you can't communicate it to anybody. Like, even if you are the utmost expert of Ethereum or SafeMoon or Dogecoin, whatever it may be, Dogecoin, you can't tell anybody about it. Can't really communicate it properly. You might say like, everybody, rocket, moon.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you autistic absolute retard. What are you doing?
Rana Roja's going to the moon. I'd probably take the other way. I'd probably rather just have super good knowledge of it and then just not be able to get it across deeply, but just show by the fact that I'm now a Bitcoin millionaire that I know my shit.
You know your shit, yeah.
So
although in saying that, you could be a Bitcoin millionaire and not know anything about real Bitcoin. You could have been one of those ones in 2013. You could have been in 2013, bought some Doge, being like, hey, this looks cool. I'll just put $1,000 on it.
Yeah.
You're a millionaire.
Yeah,
and it's like, cool. I know nothing about it. So,
and those same opportunities abound now. I'm sure there's some NFTs right now you could buy, and in however many years they'll be $1 million assets. And you could do that, but how are you going to do it? Well, it's probably a bit of luck, or the NFT space really well, and these are the ones that are going to really pop off in the future.
Yeah. No, I like that. Good. I like that. I like that little rebound from yours. Very
Yeah,
good.
I did like the. That being said, having the power of language and being able to use that effectively is so valuable.
Well, let me give it to you another example. It's a whole of communication. If you don't have it, then it's basically useless. Imagine if you are the utmost expert on mining engineering, but you go to Russia.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're almost kind of like fucked. That's it. Like, well, like you might be really good and you're going on mining, but it's like if you have no one to communicate with, there's no way you can get that knowledge across. So, obviously that's more extreme, but the language and ability to communicate is so much more important. Because even if you were a junior mining engineer but could communicate, you'd get more done than if you just couldn't communicate but you're an expert.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's interesting. So I seem to be just diving more and more deeply into language. Even so, like the Stephen King book I mentioned before, I don't care about writing. I have absolutely zero interest, and like even his writing in particular, I've read one of his books before, so it's not like I'm a big
Stephen
fanboy
King fan.
of his writing. So, but I found the book really interesting in calling out just certain aspects of the language that I'd never particularly thought about. So, for example, I always thought I'd be a terrible writer because I wouldn't know how to use descriptions really well. But a lot of the time he was saying, no, it's about the story. The descriptions, you don't need to be super flowery and need to do this.
Yep.
He was saying, instead of being, the lady screamed abjectly or whatever, he was saying the best way of presenting dialogue is just Dave said, she said, he said, and not adding stuff to it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And actually, this is just Stephen King's opinion.
Obviously,
but obviously he's a damn good writer.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's opinion worth considering. Yeah. All right. So I was talking a little bit about no, Poppy. I accidentally insulted someone this past week.
You accidentally
insulted someone.
How did you manage this?
I was actually trying to give a compliment, actually. So,
of course you were.
So
can't wait.
It was.
I want to hear this.
Essentially, I was with this someone, and
you were with this someone.
I was with this someone.
Okay.
I was with this someone, and I was. They said something that was just super amusing to me. I found it super funny, and it was because it was such an unusual thing to say, and it was sort of said in the sense of X happened, and I know X happened because Y happened. And I won't give the exact details.
That's right.
For it, just in case they're watching. But it was, for me, I was just like, man, that's so funny. Like, that's so ridiculous. I love that it's so ridiculous. I love that your brain goes to
and in your
ways.
mind, you're like, it's funny. You're trying to be funny. It's ridiculous.
Well, not even that they're trying to be funny, but I was giving the compliment saying like, that
well
is
done.
Yeah, well done. Like, I really enjoy
it's like
that
Steven,
about you.
Like how Steven does it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Steven just comes up with like these random one-liners. A normal person's brain doesn't work that way. And that's cool. That's why I like Steven. That's why we mention him so much on the podcast, because he plays Steven. All our animals have fallen to the ground. So I said this, and then I thought everything was cool. Found out later, was not taken very well.
It was not taken well.
No, I was. I think this person thought I was being condescending. This person thought I was being, trying to put them down to make myself feel better, sort of thing.
How did they take that though?
I thought I was saying it in a nice way, but whatever. These things happen. So got me thinking about insulting people. And in this particular case, I didn't feel too bad about it because my intent was pure. Like, I was trying to do a nice thing. I'm actually sort of thinking, comparing it to the Buddhists, I didn't, the intent is all that matters. A girl sits on your erect penis, that's okay as long as the intent wasn't there. You don't get chucked out. So I got thinking though, insulting. Have there been times where you've insulted people or been very insulted yourself?
If this podcast hasn't insulted at least like half its listeners, I think we've done our job.
Your general existence insults me.
Exactly.
No, I'm thinking more in terms of like a particular thing you've said or a particular thing maybe you've done to someone. Or that someone's done to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Not that it jumps in my mind. Not that it jumps in my mind immediately. Do you have any?
So one thing that has happened to me was back in the days when I was very quiet and I was playing soccer with all these guys, and they just kept on coming up with a couple of like nicknames for me. And the worst was I didn't even know about it until right at the end. One of them was Whispering Jack.
Whispering Jack.
Whispering Jack.
Why
which
was
was
that?
just
Why
because,
was that the insult?
well, I
You're
just
quiet.
never. It was because I was quiet.
Gotcha.
And yeah, that sort of like insulted me at the time, and I was like, oh, that's not nice.
Don't
That's
even
not
see
nice
that as
thing to do.
insulting though. It's almost it's an insult if you don't get given a nickname. You know, it's insulting if you don't get given it. It's the same thing in a lot of the armies or special forces and that. It's like you want people to dig at you, because then you have to showcase the ability that you can dig back or be okay with it and show your resilience in that way. If you're nothing, that's the real time when you're being insulted. That's like you should be insulted if nobody cares.
Yeah. Like looking back now, first of all, it's just a pure nothing to me. Like whatever, I don't give a shit. It's probably a good description of me.
Yep.
Apart from the jack part, the whispering part, bang on.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time, I would say I felt that one a little bit. Me insulting other people, I think there actually has been most of the time. It's been like that one that I said just before. I've been trying to say something nice, and it's just come out awfully wrong. Totally interpreted the wrong way. And yeah, once again, those ones I sort of feel like, I was trying to be nice, so it doesn't really...
Yeah.
Unless it was like a repeated thing where I kept calling someone like an arsehole in a joking way, and they kept taking it.
And they kept being in a worse way. Yeah, I think the only time I could imagine like me insulting people that I'm like really conscious of it is when, particularly, like I might be in a group of people and whether it's a conversation or we're telling stories or something else, it'll start being taken like over the top. So you might be making fun, and you're making fun of like whole groups and whole people. I reckon I've insulted like multiple people in those instances, and like someone would be man,
or someone from the outside hears what you're
what's
talking
going
about.
on? Be like,
yeah, for sure.
man, so for sure that's happened like more than once, more than 50 times for sure. I can't really like call out to me once like where I've been insulted.
Yeah.
Or at least I haven't taken it in a way to recall it that well. Yeah, I'm sure there is.
You had any racial slurs here in Australia?
I probably did.
Like we used to call you Mexican.
I probably did, but I was too foreign to know.
Yeah,
definitely in Sydney. Like for sure, there would have been some. There must have been. Not that I understood English enough to even care or know. So it's like it doesn't matter. Like I'm just like so for all people, if you want to insult foreigners, insult them in the first like couple of months because they don't know what's going on. It's totally fine. So like
the immortal recommendation for casual racism:
insult them right at the beginning.
Just do it when they don't understand it.
And I never took that as racial slurs either. And this is definitely to the person, but I think there's when if a particular slur got to the point where it was intended to harm or intended to really bring down as opposed to anything else, then they might have been called out for it. But I think I always saw it more of like a ribbing in effect of like a guys or a group of people being together, and that was the establishing conversation to be part of the group. So it was because it was not the expectation but the norm in a group. It was like, okay, well that's a culture and that's okay because we're saying it it's not in an affectionate way, but it's not in a very negative, very harmful sort of way.
Yeah. This came up in The Grapes of Wrath, the book I'm reading at the moment, and they're getting... So basically it's a story about people transitioning from Oklahoma, the Dust Bowl, when all the crops are drying up, there's just a big drought sort of, and all the farms are getting taken over by massive corporations, so there's this huge migration into California, and they start getting called Okies. Okies. And
it's kind of a cool name.
And yeah, I thought it was cool as well. But and even the characters in the book are like, oh, what does that even mean? I don't get what that means. And then they learn, it's not about the actual word itself. It's about the intent behind it. And we're talking about swearing not too long ago and just how weird it is. So I dived into some of the swearing stats. So here's some interesting things. Did you know that bilingual swearing, as I demonstrated right at the start, is actually quite common, and bilingual speakers will swear more in their second language and swear deeper in it than they will in their first. And apparently the reason for this is because it's your second language, you don't necessarily know all the social constraints around a word. So I sort of know pendeja translates as like like arsehole, roughly. Would you say that?
Pendejo would.
Okay, what's
Yeah.
pendejo? Like bitch, maybe?
Yeah, pretty more bitch.
Yeah. So I sort of know that,
Mm.
but in my mind, it doesn't have that connotation as strong as
It would in English.
it would in English. And so apparently, I haven't actually... I purposefully stayed away from the Spanish ones because I didn't want to pick up bad habits.
Yeah.
But apparently bilingual speakers, they'll swear more heavily and be more, sort of racist and sexist and whatever in their second language just because they don't.
Not by intent, but by a lack of understanding, like where that's a funny thing to be used.
Yeah,
the concept of it.
yeah. Another thing, how many swear words do you think you say per day? I'm already up to a couple just from this podcast. So
Yeah, I think if I do the podcast where I'm talking to friends, I'd say 50.
Okay.
If it isn't, 0.
Zero. You
Zero.
reckon? Zero. So you say about 15,000 to 16,000 is the average.
A day?
A day. No. There's words per day. Yeah, imagine
I
saying
was like,
that.
what?
Yeah, imagine saying that.
Gotta catch up.
Yeah. Maybe like a guy with Tourette's or something could get up to that
Dang.
level. No, so apparently...
One every 4 seconds.
Apparently the average is
What?
80 to 90.
Okay, but 15 to 16,000 words a day.
Yeah, that's
That's literally 4 words a word every 4 seconds.
Is it?
Yeah, 86,400 seconds in a day.
How many?
86,400 seconds in a day.
So one word every 4 seconds.
Yeah, roughly. That's crazy.
Well,
there you go.
and actually, because a day you're sleeping, I wonder if they're counting sleep talking.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. Okay, anyways, yeah.
Yeah, that does seem
Yeah, it
quite
seems
high.
really over the top.
Yeah. Anywho, that's the stats I found. And
Although you do communicate, like right now, I'm saying like 30 words in 10 seconds, something like that. So
yeah, could be that. And so where was I getting with this? And yeah, so that was, I think, like 0.5 to 1% of your total words per day
swearing.
being a swear word.
Gary Vee's probably double that.
Yeah.
Gary Vee probably swears a lot more.
Yeah, he does. He does.
I find the swearing is like to be used for the concept of really making a point of something. That might be. I'm not gonna say like it's like, oh yeah, you should do that, but I could imagine the use of it being to really make an emphasis on something that's important.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna say it's a great thing to say at work. Okay, cool. But if I was in a team, or say of sports or something else where that context might be okay to be swearing, I might say lots of words and then be specific on like, no, we need to really fucking do this. This is what's important. And it's like, okay, the emphasis on that section makes it more, it's like a recall is much better then if you're just using it for that. If you're using it for everything, then it becomes the norm.
Yeah, there was so reading the wiki article, there was my man Steven Pinker. He'd come up with roughly 5 reasons why people swear, or 5 types of swearing, and I'll see if I can remember them. There was abusive, so that was using it in terms of an insult to someone, so calling you an arsehole because you've done something wrong, and I want that intent to be conveyed of like, I'm not happy at you.
Yep.
Cathartic, which is, and this one I found quite interesting, was you stub your toe and you swear, it actually does have a measurable pain decrease. Like, it actually does have an effect. So all you kids out there, learn every swear word you can get, and then use them when you get injured. You're
Cathartic.
good. Yeah, you use enough, you probably become god level. Like, there's like a heroin hit. You already mentioned the emphasis one, so that's to emphasize a certain word. So that's not particularly using it for any reason other than that. There's actually the reason of not using it for a reason. So it's just a filler word. So I think it was something along the lines of, I was so fucked. It doesn't really play a part in there, or it plays a part.
We should replace ums with shit. Every time we say ums, it'd be like, shit.
That'd be a good way for us to stop doing it, I think.
That is true.
And there was one more, but that one slips my mind.
Okay. No, that's cool. I didn't know about those things. That was very nice. My little last one here that I've got is just, and it goes again into my mere mortal moment. So it's the don't be the glass, be the lake. So this is a story that was in Jay Shetty's book, How to Think Like a Monk, and it was the example of not being a glass, but being a lake when it comes to when things are poured in to your life, into your being. I don't know if you've heard this particular saying before.
So don't be a glass, be a lake.
And so the specific is, okay, if you pour some salt into a glass of water, you're going to really taste it. You're going to really taste that salt. But if you
fun little fact here, people. When Juan and I were in chemistry class in grade, I'm not going to say grade 9.
Yeah, it'd be grade 9 or 10.
We made ice cream. And what you had to do was you put like the cream, the milk or whatever it is into the cream, sugar and something else into a container.
Yep.
And then you have ice in there and it's like, oh, how are you going to make ice cream from that? That's not going to make it cool enough. So you pour salt on top of the ice to make it cold.
Cooler.
Juan, being the jackass he is, I think like shook around the bag or something because you had to like mix it a bit.
Yeah.
And so we got the salt and the water mixing up in our ice cream. So we ended up with,
saltiest ice cream.
It wasn't like, a salted caramel ice cream.
No.
It was a vanilla ice cream with, it was 2 tablespoons of sugar.
Caramel essence salt on the shape of an ice cream.
Yeah, so I do actually have experience drinking, tasting salt.
So yeah, so like that, right? So salt, lots of salt in your water. So don't be the glass, be the lake. Because if you pour that same salt into a lake, you hardly notice it. It's the same content, however, you're in a different vessel. And the particular one I wanted to call it out again from that Jay Shetty book was just the ability to be broad in the sense of, I guess, the type of shape, the vessel, the container that you are, so that you're able to fill yourself up with more of that content of whether it's life, whether it's knowing things, so that when things actually happen to you, let's just say the equivalent is if you get robbed or for some other reason, that feeling of that happening, the comparison between that happening and you having no ability to control yourself emotionally in the response might be completely different to you being able to really be emotionally responsive and taking the reactions that you have to. So the same event might happen, but you'll react completely differently.
Where'd you find this concept?
It's in Jay Shetty's How to Think Like a Monk.
Did he then give examples of how you go about becoming a lake
instead
of a...
Not in... Slightly. And I can't really recall them. But it was... Something was troubling Jay. And it was something that one of the monks in the monastery taught Jay to think about. To be less like a glass of water and be more like a lake. And the specific salt explanation behind the both of them. I kind of more took it in the sense of broadly as a human, just becoming broad in knowledge, broad in wisdom and physical capacity, to the point that that same salt, whatever that action is of that event that takes place, you're able to handle it across your breadth, across your like wealth of knowledge, that you're able to uptake that in a much better way, as opposed to being a very siloed, very specific human knowledge of capacity, and then being able to only, that little change is like a massive change in your life. So that's kind of how I took it, but I wanted to see what you thought about it, because I looked at it and I was like, I get it, but is it really, does it really apply to human life?
Yeah. I like the concept, but I think it can be explained in better ways.
Yeah.
Like none of that really jumped out at me as like, oh man, this is a really good way of putting this. Maybe I should implement this into my own life, sort of thing.
Yeah, I need to reinvestigate that particular one in the book of Jay Shetty. So that's why I kept it, because I think there was a lot of stuff that was good in there. Because I liked it at the time, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm missing something here. So, be immortals, if you hear that particular quote there, and maybe you know better than me, let me know, because I want to hear the definition of that.
Sounds like one of those things one needs to gain more knowledge on to be able to...
yeah, I'm too much of a glass here. I'm too much of a glass. I need to be more like, how do I get to a lake? I'm not sure. That's
it. The other type of swearing that I wanted to... Dysphemistic. D-Y-S-P-H-E mystic. And that is used to convey that the speaker thinks negatively of the subject. So... make the listener also realize, that's...
I don't know how dissimilar that is to the first one.
From...
To showing the intent that you, dislike them.
No, so that's...
like the idea.
No, so that's more emotional or physiological harm. Okay. So if I wanted to say, it's a shitty tree, for example.
You're trying to hate on the tree.
Does that emotionally damage you?
It's emotionally damaged tree.
Yeah. Shit, house tree.
Yeah.
You want to fight, bro? Yeah, so...
Yeah, right. Okay.
Those are the 5 types.
Okay. Yes, my mere moral moment was don't be the glass, be the lake. And I'll add a little extra quote on that. I was like, don't be the glass, be the lake, I'm not sure what this means, but if you do, let me know.
Yep.
Yep.
Nice.
What's
Very
yours?
good. Mine is every insult can be turned into a positive. It just requires some creativity. So
Nice.
to my friend out there who I accidentally insulted, I would say, this is good advice
Fuck
to...
yeah.
This is good advice in terms of turning that into a positive.
Productive.
So, someone calls you a Nazi, you're just fanatical. Someone calls you obsessed, you're just focused.
Yeah.
Someone calls you a creep, you're just unique.
That's
So,
right. Excellent.
There we go.
I cannot even go beyond that. That's excellent. We're going to finish it right there. Mere Mortals. If you want to check out all of the content, whether it's the book reviews, whether it's a podcast, you know where to find us. YouTube, audio form, it's all there. Follow, subscribe, like, check the Instagram, Mere Mortals Podcast. If you've checked the website, you can see all of the links.
Yes.
MereMortalsPodcast.com. I'm actually going to call out something else we haven't called out before in this podcast.
Okay.
You can also check out reseñas.
Yeah, that's true.
Current reseñas. Obviously, you'll find all those links as well through the
Yep.
website. If you haven't checked that out, if you, for some reason, are listening to this in English and you go, you know what would make my life better? Re-listening to the book review in Spanish.
In Spanish.
In a really shit version
in
of Spanish.
a broken
broken
mechanical
work.
Spanish where he can't exactly convey 100% what he wants to,
Yeah.
but he does a decent
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
job.
Then go check reseñas because it'll just make your day if that's what you're looking at. So for the 3 people on Earth that don't exist here but are someone else,
Yeah, no,
well done. You've
those
accomplished it.
people need to be crisped into existence.
Yeah.
They're not coming out.
They don't exist just yet, but they will in 50 years' time. So, Mere Mortals, that's all. One out.
Going out. Jump, 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 jump.